Have you ever promised yourself that tomorrow you will wake up early, start fresh, do better, and finally take control, only to press snooze again when morning comes? Have you ever noticed how the day then turns into a race, full of apologies, late steps, and a quiet feeling that you are always behind? Sometimes life does not fall apart because of one big disaster, but because of one small habit that repeats every day like a slow leak in the heart. Without thinking, Tom bent down to help gather them. Miss Parker, Lily's teacher, looked at him with surprise and thanked him. She said most parents arrived, rushing, and did not see anything around. Then, Tom smiled softly and said he had left early. She nodded as if she understood something deeper than his words. Then she lowered her voice and said Lily had been nervous all morning. She kept saying she hoped her dad would come. Tom swallowed. He told her he was here, and he was not going anywhere. He sat in the front row. Parents began filling the hall, some running, some arguing at the door. At 8:19, the guard announced the last entry. At 8:20, the gate closed. Tom stayed still. For once in his life, he was not standing on the wrong side of a closing door. The music began. Children walked onto the stage in careful lines. Lily stepped forward, holding her song paper. Her eyes searched the crowd, moving left and right, slow and nervous. For one long second, Tom forgot how to breathe. Then she saw him. Her shoulders dropped. A small smile touched her face, like a light turning on inside her chest. Tom lifted his hand and waved once. Lily nodded. It was as if courage filled her lungs. She sang. Her voice was clear. Not perfect, but strong and brave. Tom felt tears rise, not because of the song, but because he finally understood the real reward of waking up early. He was not just on time, he was present after the performance. Lily ran to him and hugged him tightly. She told him he came early, and that when she saw him, she was no longer scared. Tom handed her the paper flower. Her eyes widened with joy. She said he remembered. Sarah stood beside them, her eyes bright, and whispered that today he did not chase the day. He held it as they walked out. A man in a smart coat stopped Tom. He introduced himself as Mr. Bennett and said he ran a small delivery company. He said he had seen Tom helping the teacher and staying calm. He said he needed someone reliable for early morning routes, and most people could not handle early starts. But Tom looked like the kind of man who could. Tom almost laughed. A week ago, those words would have sounded like a joke. He told Mr. Bennett that he could wake up early now. Mr. Bennett handed him a card and told him to come Monday at 6:30 if he showed up. They would talk. Tom took the card carefully, as if it were fragile. Later that day, he went to the cafe and told Mr. Reed everything. The rain, the broken bus, the closed road, the front row seat, Lily's smile, the card in his pocket. Mr. Reed listened quietly and asked what he had learned. Tom thought for a moment and said that waking up early did not stop the rain. It did not fix the bus. It did not remove problems, but it gave him time, and time gave him choices, and choices gave him a win. He said when he woke up late, he lost jobs and promises. When he woke up early, he gained calm, and calm helped him show up for his daughter. That day, being early made life easier, and the real lesson was simple. The biggest gift of waking up early is not extra hours, it is control, because when you control your morning, You do not just reach work on time, you reach the people you love, and you reach the moments that can quietly change your life forever. In a small town called Riverside, there lived a father named Tom. He was not lazy. He loved his wife Sarah, and he loved his daughter Lily more than anything. He wanted to be the kind of man his family could lean on, the kind of man whose word felt safe. But Tom carried one weakness that kept quietly damaging his life. He could not wake up early. Every night he told himself he would sleep on time, and every night he stayed on his phone a little longer, watching one more video, scrolling one more page, telling himself it did not matter. Then morning came. The alarm rang at 6:30, sharp and cold, like an enemy calling his name. His hand moved before his mind did. Snooze, 5 minutes. Snooze again. 10 more. And suddenly it was 7:40. Tom would jump out of bed with his heart pounding, as if he had just fallen from a height. He rushed through his routine, brushing his teeth too fast, pulling on clothes without looking, running out without breakfast. He worked as a delivery driver for a local printing shop. The job was simple, but time mattered. One Tuesday, his manager looked at him and said the customer needed those posters by 8. You arrived at 9. We lost the client. Tom promised it would not happen again, but it did. A week later, he was late once more. This time, the manager did not raise his voice. He simply said he could not trust him anymore. Tom walked home with his empty lunch bag, feeling as if the whole town could see the word failure written on his back. At home, Sarah did not shout. Shouting does not pay rent. She only asked what they would do now. Tom said he would find another job, but even his own ears could hear how weak his voice sounded. That evening, Lily came home from school with glitter on her hands and excitement in her eyes. She told him about the spring assembly next Friday. She said she would sing on stage. She said parents must come early because the front gate closes at 8:20, and after that no one is allowed in. Then she looked at him and asked him not to be late. Tom smiled, but fear moved quietly inside his chest. Still, he promised her he would be there early. Lily hugged him and said she would look for him in the front row. 2 days later, there was a short practice at school, and parents were allowed to watch for 10 minutes. Tom told himself he would go. He told himself he would be on time. But morning came, and the snooze button won again. By the time he reached the school, the doors were closing. He saw parents leaving, smiling, and Lily standing inside with her song paper in her hands. She saw him through the glass. Her smile faded. She did not cry. She only looked down and turned away. That quiet moment hurt more than losing his job. In the car, Sarah said nothing for a long time. Then she whispered that he did not just miss a practice. He missed her trust. That night, Tom could not sleep. Lily's face stayed in his mind like a shadow on the wall. Before sunrise, he stepped outside into the cold air, into a street that was still calm and blue with sleep. On the corner, a small cafe glowed with warm yellow light. The sign said Early Bird Cafe. Inside, an old man was cleaning tables. He looked up and said that it was rare to see someone awake this early in this town. Tom sat with a warm cup of tea in his hands and felt something heavy loosen inside. His chest stopped when the old man guessed his problem without being told. Tom finally spoke. He told him about the job, the rent, the promise to Lily, and the fear that he would fail again. The old man listened and said something simple, that waking up early is not really about success. It is about control. Late mornings begin with panic. Early mornings begin with space, and space makes a man think clearly. Tom whispered that his body refused to change. The old man leaned closer and showed him a small notebook. He spoke about small steps, about choosing the night before, about planning the morning before the world touches you. Tom looked at the pages for a long time. Then he said, quietly, that he was tired of being sorry, and for the first time in a long while, he wondered what his life would look like if he truly learned how to choose from the next morning. Tom began to practice what he had been shown. On Thursday night, he placed his phone across the room instead of beside his pillow. He put a glass of water next to it. The simple distance felt strange, like moving a habit out of his reach. When the alarm rang at 6, his body begged him to stay still. Every muscle argued for comfort, but he forced his feet onto the cold floor, walked to the phone, turned it off, and drank the water. The cold shocked his mind awake. He did not feel strong. He did not feel proud. He felt uncomfortable. But underneath the discomfort, there was something new. For the first time in years, he had started a day without shame. He opened a cheap notebook and wrote slowly, "Must do, look for work. Must not do, press snooze. Grateful for another chance." The words looked small, but they felt heavy with meaning, because he was early. He walked outside while the town was still quiet. The streets felt wider, the air softer. He visited 2 shops before they became busy. One owner told him to come back later. Another said they were not hiring. Tom did not get a job that day, but he noticed something strange. Even rejection felt lighter when he was not rushing. On Friday, he woke early again and went to the cafe. Mr. Reed let him help. Clean tables for 2 hours in exchange for breakfast and a little cash. When Tom finished, Mr. Reed smiled and said he had come on time, and that was how trust begins. The words stayed with him longer than the taste of food. The days passed, and Tom became steadier. He was still tired sometimes. His body still complained, but the fear inside him grew quieter. Mornings no longer felt like emergencies. They felt like openings. Then Thursday night arrived. The night before Lily's spring assembly, Lily laid her school uniform neatly on a chair and held up a small paper flower she had made for the performance. She asked her father to bring it so she could hold it on stage. Tom took it carefully, as if it could break in his hands, and promised her he would dot. Sarah watched him closely and said that tomorrow morning would decide a lot. Tom nodded. He already knew. He prepared like a man preparing for something important. His phone was charged. A backup alarm was set on Sarah's phone. His clothes were ready. His shoes waited by the door. He placed the paper flower on top of his keys so he could not forget it. Then he wrote his plan on a sheet of paper. Wake at 6. Breakfast at 6:30. Leave at 7:10. Arrive by 7:40. Gate closes at 8:20. He went to bed early, when worry tried to climb into his thoughts. He whispered into the dark that he would be there. At 5:52 in the morning, Tom opened his eyes before the alarm rang. For one quiet second, pride warmed his chest. Then he reached for his phone to check the time, and his heart jumped. The screen showed 2% battery. If it died, the alarms might fail. The old Tom would have panicked and frozen. The old Tom would have stared at the ceiling and imagined everything going wrong. But the new Tom moved. He plugged the phone in, turned on Sarah's alarm again, and said out loud that they still had time. When the alarm rang at 6, he was already standing. He drank water, He washed his face. He ate toast slowly. He picked up his keys, feeling the paper flour beneath his fingers at 7:05. He stepped outside, and the first problem arrived. Rain, not gentle rain, but heavy rain that darkened the streets and slowed every car. Water painted the road with silver lines. Tom took a deep breath and reminded himself that this was why he had left early. He walked toward the bus stop, choosing not to risk his low fuel. At the stop, a sign was taped to the pole. Main road closed. Roadwork, detour. Fear hit his chest like a sudden hand. Then he checked his watch. 7:12. He still had time. The bus came late, but Tom stayed calm. Calm was easier when the clock was not your enemy. Halfway to the school, the bus stopped. The driver turned and apologized. Engine problem. Parents began to complain. Voices rose. People checked their watches again and again. Tom looked through the rain at the long road ahead, and he made a choice. He stepped off the bus, pulled his jacket tight, and started walking. Water soaked his shoes. His legs burned. His breath grew heavy. At 7:48, he reached the first school street and saw a police officer redirecting traffic. The road ahead was flooded. People turned back, shaking their heads. For a moment, his mind tried to scream that it was happening again. Then another thought entered. He remembered the quiet mornings, the empty streets, the paths he had learned while the town was still asleep. He did not need luck, he needed memory. Tom turned down a narrow side path behind the library and kept walking. And with every step, the fear that once ruled his mornings grew smaller. As the school gate finally appeared in the distance, his heart began to beat in a different way, not with panic, but with hope. At 8:02, Tom saw the school gate clearly. A guard stood beside it, and the metal bars were already half open, as if they were slowly breathing before closing. Rain slid down his face, and his clothes clung to his skin, but he slowed his steps. Not because he was tired, but because a strange realization settled inside him. He was not late, he was early. He checked his watch again. 8:05, 15 minutes before the gate would close. 15 minutes that felt like a gift placed gently into his hands. Tom walked through the gate calmly and nodded at the guard, his heart steady for the first time in years. Inside the hall, teachers were arranging chairs. A box of programs slipped from a table, and papers scattered across the floor.